at you. Aren't you pretty? What's the matter? First time you've ever spoken to me. Hello, BookTube. You keep in mind, I said the other day that the next shelf we would do at Hyde Cottage would be history. So I figured we'd move right ahead with that promise. Pay no attention to anything around. This is certainly Hyde Cottage. Your eyes are not deceiving you. So we're going to start with, we're going to do just a whole shelf here. We'll just work our way through. Quite a few biographies. The first one being Garrett Mattingly's Catherine of Aragon. He was a great guy. He was a fantastic writer. And this has never been done better. Catherine of Aragon has had 100 biographies in the last 200 years and never one better. So I'm pretty sure that this is not available. For those of you who are wondering, I know quite a few people sometimes do a project of reading a biography for each wife of Henry VIII. I think myself that that's a complete waste of time. It drives me crazy how much emphasis is put on Henry VIII's wives when studying him as a king. But if you want to do that, you can't do better than this. Okay, all right, wow, this is in perfect condition. This is, we've seen this already. This is Antonia Fraser's great biography of Mary Queen of Scots in a absolutely beautiful hardcover. I simply do not remember that my hardcover was this pretty. This is absolutely lovely. Then we have a whole bunch of these English Monarch series. There's a whole series by, this is not Yale, this is the University of California. Yeah, this is the University of California. This is David Douglas's biography of William the Conqueror, one of the best ones that's ever been done. These, none of these books are immediately accessible reading. You have to be dedicated to reading English biography and English history in order to jump right into them. They're made to sort of be the definitive works. So there are probably one or two other William the Conqueror biographies that I would recommend first if you've never read anything about him. But I couldn't recommend anything better. Yeah, same thing is true with this. This is Warren's Henry II. Still the unchallenged great work on this king. This one is not quite the same thing. This is S.B. Crimes. This is his book on Henry VII, the founder of the Tudor dynasty, and there actually have been a couple of equally good books on the subject. And there is one popular biography that just came out called The Winter King. I think it's just a couple of years old. And as and sort of an entry place to read about Henry Tudor, that is wonderful. I don't know if that's going to be on this shelf, but that was okay. All right, this is Scarisbrick's Henry VIII. His again, still this is sort of the unchallenged one-volume scholarly biography of Henry VIII. It's total heresy to say it seems like Coles to Newcastle, but I am of the opinion that Henry VIII still does not have his great one-volume biography. Despite of how many biographies there have been, I don't think there's been one that really does him justice. I think most of them shift their emphasis in weird ways, and this is no exception. And it's partly that's understandable because Henry was such a protean figure and had importance in so many different aspects of the life of his time. But still, I feel certain somebody could do it. Give somebody 900 pages. No idea who it will be. Maybe Dermot McCullough. So we're right, okay. And then we have this has got to be Barlow, right? Yeah, this is Frank Barlow's Edward the Confessor. Somewhat shadowy figure. This is the most complete and comprehensive biography that anyone could ever possibly attempt. Oh no, okay, this next one is actually this is Charles Ross. He had a sort of a cottage industry of this is his Richard III, and Ross he's a legend, and this book has been reprinted in paperback and hardcover 1,000,000 times. But there are other Richard III books that I kind of like better. Although there's one coming out later this year that definitely is not one of those because it's pretty awful. And then the last of this set, the last of these series, this is also Charles Ross. This is his Edward IV. A king that ought to be better known. His life is absolutely fascinating. This is a terrific book on him. And they are a set. That looks really nice on the shelf. Okay, then we've got C.V. Wedgwood. This is the King's War, which is the second volume in what turned out to be a trilogy. This is Book of the Month Club, right? This edition is Book of the Month Club, and the first book was The King's Peace. It's all about King Charles and his eventual, unseating from the throne, and Oliver Cromwell. And the first book in the series, I think it's even bigger than this. It's called The King's Peace, and then the King's Peace disintegrates into The King's War. This is the war of the king and his parliament and whatnot. And then the third book is much thinner than either two, and it's called A Coffin for King Charles, and it's about his trial and his execution. And all through his trial, he said, I do not recognize this court. English law says I can only be tried by a jury of my peers, and I don't have any peers. So you can't try me. This is all invalid. And that book is fascinating. It makes it's like reading a really good political thriller, because Wedgwood went back to the court documents. Everything was scrupulously documented, because the men who did it didn't want later ages to accuse them of perfidy. They documented everything. But the King's War is terrific. There, again, like with a couple of other things we've seen so far, there have been military treatments of the English Civil War that are probably better than the military treatment that's in here. But as an overall narrative, as an engaging narrative, you can't beat it. I don't see the other volumes. Maybe this is the only one here. Oh, look at this. Okay, this is Margaret Wood. Wow. This is the English Medieval House. This is a terrific, terrific volume. You can lose days in it. Oh yeah, look at this. Oh man. Because it's not just a history of medieval houses. Of course, England, one of the great benefits of England is that so much history is available. It hasn't been raised over, it hasn't been adapted or wiped out. So you can, this has floor plans, it has old black and white spot illustrations of various surviving medieval buildings, and some that don't survive, and photographs, right? This also has photographs. And this is just, the author goes through all of the intact medieval buildings and gives you a history of them and what they represent in terms of the development of architecture. An amazing book. Just an amazing book. Don't know, this is Bracken Books? Wow. I haven't seen this in a long time. What have we got here? I think we're firmly stuck in English history here. Yes, okay, this is Rosemary Hawley Jarman. This is Crispin's Day, The Glory of Agincourt. And it's good, it's lively, it's readable, it's not anywhere near the definitive edition, study of the Battle of Agincourt, especially since a lot of the study of the logistics of that battle have changed over the last 30 years. People have put forward theories about what was going on and what accounted for what happened that day that won't be in this book. I think this is from the 80s, right? 1979. Still really enjoyable to read. And of course, there are plenty of people who have a whole shelf of Agincourt books, and this has to be one of them. Let's see, maybe there are others here.
Okay, hold.
Let's see what this next one is. Okay, this is Eleanor Shipley Duckett. Oh wow, this has got to be old. How old is this thing? 1951. This is Alcuin. This is there was a scholar who tried to make something of the mental state of Charlemagne, and this is a book about him. Unbelievable. Okay, well, I know I'm accustomed in my library tours to say that I have read all the books, but I have not read this one. What on earth? Okay, fantastic. All right, then we've got pamphlet. Oh, right, okay. This is the National Trust. Is that who did these? I'm not sure I'll be able to see right away, but if you sometimes at used bookstores, like for instance at the Book Barn in Connecticut, you will find just a whole box of these things. They did these little pamphlets of famous locations where you get potted histories, lots of illustrations, and there are a whole bunch of them, and they're really good. They're really good. I think it was the National Trust. I'm not sure who made this, but one way or another, you could tell that the people who put this together didn't want it to be just thin, fly-by-night stuff that they could charge at the gift shop. They wanted them to be good, and quite a few of them are. This one is really good. And it's just stuck here with the books. That's interesting. Then we have a box set. What is this? Oh, Okay, all right. This is another one that I have not read this version, but I have. This is the Paston letters. They were by a miraculous twist of fate. We have letters, a copious amount of letters from the Wars of the Roses. It's an unbelievable open window into that time and what it was like. And this is some sort of gift edition. It has a box. It has a wraparound naked hardcover. It maps probably lots of illustrations. Yes, it has lots of illustrations. Who is this? Oh, this is a folio society. Oh goodness, I'm not allowed to touch folio societies in this library. Here, let's be very gentle. Ooh, there we go. Oh, this next one's a classic. This is Life in the English Country House by Mark Giraud. Oh boy, look at that! A nice, beautiful hardcover. This is fantastic. It's his study. It's incredibly illustrated. It's a crime that it's not in print anymore. It's a classic. It's his study of what English country houses did. The ordinary person thinks, oh, the English country house was used only as a setting for Baroque murders. But actually, lots of stuff happened in English country houses. And they evolved to be alternate seats of power for deal makers who were not in London. And you can see, Giraud takes you through that evolution of how these places changed to accommodate that. To make it an impression on powerful visitors, or to make powerful visitors feel dwarfed. This is such a great book. You can just read it and reread it. Oh, I'm so happy to find it here. This next one is big and old, so it may be another one that I have not read. What on earth is? Okay, this is somebody named George Wharton Edwards. Has an inscription from December of 1924, and this is a big pictorial history of London. Am I going to get a frontispiece? No, I'm not. Okay, so it's just called London. What a lovely thing. This is the sort of thing that would turn up at the Brattle Bookshop in Boston every once in a while, and it looks impressive, it is impressive, it's old, but they wouldn't be able to sell this to any kind of collector. This would end up either on the shelf in the history section or out for a $5 bargain book. And it's the sort of thing that I would snap up. This is, oh wow, this is great. So do we know when this was made? It's inscribed in 1924, so probably then. But I'm thinking that this was some sort of restricted printing, because it doesn't have a lot of information. Oh, 1922, okay. So everything you wanted to know about London, except that, as is always the case with older books like that, history has moved on. Unthinkable to write a history of London now that doesn't mention the Blitz, but it hasn't happened yet. If you went back to 1922 and walked into the bookstore where this was for sale and said, you have no idea what's coming, none, the people wouldn't have believed you. And then the last one, we'll finish up. This will finish. Okay, this is another one that I have not read. Look at this thing, good Lord. This is 3 Tours of London. One from 1748, one from 1776, and one from 1797. So are these going to be different? Oh, okay. I see what you're doing. Oh, sorry. This is by Wilmarth Sheldon Lewis, and what this author does is go through the records that we have. In each one of those years, there was an indefatigable diarist and record keeper who lived in London and could tell you, what's being hawked in the streets, what the songs are, what's going on at the shows, what the king is doing. And this person just gives you, this Wilmarth Sheldon Lewis gives you, sort of summarizes those 3 tours for you. How fascinating. All right, this is another one I haven't read. I've never even seen this book. Wow, this would be really interesting. Okay, so that is it. That is a history library tour. Heavy on the English history, and lots of biography. So that'll do it. We'll continue with our library tour as soon as the holiday weekend is over. Until then, I'll see you soon. Thank you for